We'll go ahead and call the study session for June 13th of the Board of Directors of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District to order. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Assistant Secretary Robert Uten.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer.
Here.
Vice President James Fairman.
Present.
And President Michael Schaefer.
Here. Public comments. We do have one email that was received yesterday, the 12th of June at 8:03 a.m. regarding a request for an SEP. And I just need to mention that we do have the correspondence from Judith Marquez, and that we'll enter it into as part of the minutes of the meeting. Okay? No need to read the whole meeting now, is there? Great. Okay, then it's duly entered into the minutes. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? So no one jump forward. We'll move to the organics tonnage report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just happy to answer any questions. But as you can see, the month of May exceeded May of 2016. So every month this year has surpassed the previous year, with the exception of October. So things are looking good.
Great. Any questions for staff?
Looks good.
Good report. Okay, Code Enforcement Officers report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ed Roberts, will you give me the report?
Yep.
Good morning, President Schaefer and members of the board. Edward Roberts, the Code Enforcement Officer for the district, presenting the May 2017 Code Enforcement Officer report. My findings for the month, there was a series of 7 scavenging-related investigations that took place. Nothing to note to report back to the board beyond compliance. Moving forward from that, you'll see that most of them were concentrated primarily on the west end. I did include a map for your reference towards the back of the report. There were 2 that were located on the east side, on the north end, and one on the right on the border, right around Victoria Avenue. Nothing really to report with that. Do you have any questions regarding scavenging?
Just an observation or comment. With the increase in homeless folks that are camping along the Santa Ana River, primarily north of town, up closer to Costco, I just wonder if we might want to keep an eye on the northern end of Costa Mesa, because I think we're going to probably, and my guess would be, we'd see a little more activity, especially even in the industrial area north of the 405 freeway.
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, during the course of my patrol, I noticed that at Moon Park.
Keep a close eye on the park.
I'm aware of that. That's the proximity there. I did notice a kind of an uptick of the transient homeless indigent population there at the park, also at the terminus of Eastler Avenue. I normally will park my vehicle out there for what we call a 5 minutes, just sitting out there for about 20 minutes, half hour to get the way going. And you'll see folks on bicycles with recycling material coming in and out of the area. There's not a whole lot I can do once they hit county territory.
Oh, no, absolutely. But I mean, we're the first residential area, the north part of Costa Mesa, and I expect more activity, I think.
Yes, sir, I agree. And I'm aware, in my travels, I noticed that the county board has moved the transient encampments that were in the vicinity of Anaheim School, and we cleared those out. And I think that's pushed folks a little further south, probably into the Hunter Station.
Yeah, I think we noticed last night crossing Fairview at the Santa Ana River just before 17th Street, Santa Ana. It's gotten bigger. I think you're right. I think they have, although there's still quite an encampment near Anaheim Stadium, I think they are pushing them.
Yes, sir. And we'll see. I try to develop probable cause to do detention, but before I contact anybody, I'll just watch until I have something very solid. You know, for example, them going through the trash can at that point, then I'll make contact and be what it can be involved with. But I'll keep your concerns in mind. That is on my patrol pattern, Moon Park and the end of Eastler, and also the end of 19th Street, the terminus 19th Street. That's what the primary concentration of the new populations over there. Any other questions regarding the schedule or comments? Okay. So just to address, it was 7 total per month. Moving forward to the trash can portion that we do, I've been noticing a significant increase in resident concerns regarding the surge of cars in public view. A lot of commentary, they'll see the vehicle out on the street and I'll be flagged down by a resident. And once we find out what we do, I believe the word spreads throughout the neighborhood, which is a good thing. So public outreach is a good opportunity right there. I make myself available to the residents and we do a lot of education by going out there and talking to the folks and explaining our rationale and motivation for the enforcement of trash cards. For the month of May, I had 114 cases that resulted in, being knocking on doors, we're talking to folks, or we're issuing notices. Big complaints, no citations issued for the month. Most folks will comply with the opportunity to with an explanation. So, any questions regarding trash card enforcement?
I have a question. You mentioned end of 19th Street. What's happening there?
Sir, at the end of 19th Street, right as it transitions into that stretch of Newport Beach, by the condominium complex.
Big condo complex.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
exactly
there's
what's happening.
we have a pump station right there.
Right.
We have a park adjacent to a park, pump station, which I check, just make sure nothing for fees.
Okay.
And at the terminus of 19th, there's the large public land, right there by the oil property.
That's Talbot Park.
Yes, Howard Park, and it just, there's a tremendous transient kind of, the estimated population down there is fluctuates with, between 50 and 150 people at any given time are camped out there. Me doing my job, I need to know where my folks are coming and going, because I follow them as they go into the neighborhood and try to catch them as they perpetrate a violation. So that's what I'm aware of. The police is aware of it, we're aware of it, it's just the nature of the business, that's what we deal with.
I was just curious, 'cause I was just down there the other day.
Yeah, just be aware of those parking spots.
Yeah, I wouldn't go down there.
Ed, on the carts, the one on Alabama Circle,
Yes.
that isn't the one that we had the incident with the,
No, sir.
It's not the same address,
No,
is it?
it's actually at the cul-de-sac, right where the park starts,
Okay.
at the very south end on the right-hand side.
okay.
And I'm,
We haven't heard any more about that dispute in,
the complaining party has, I haven't heard anything further from the complaining party. However, I did a house visit on the receiving party, I guess the other half of it, and just wanted some advice. She said, look, the trash card, at the end of the day, the trash cards belong to the district, they're assigned to the residents. You don't really have an ordinance that specifies where
Yeah.
it goes beyond curbside.
Yeah.
So I agree that onus is on the owners or the property owners to put them out in a responsible manner and get along beyond that.
so what you're saying is no news is good
No,
news.
this is good news, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Ed?
Well, the moral of the story with your property is no cigar butts and beer bottles in your front yard.
That's probably the case. There won't be any beer bottles unless they're thrown by my neighbors. The other part, I plead the fifth. Okay, that wasn't really a question, Ed. That was more of a standard.
It's a statement.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else for Ed?
Well, it looks like you're hanging around his area quite a bit.
I try to fill it out very proportionally to the community.
Not a good day, Bob. Thanks, Ed.
My pleasure.
Scott, our seismic study done on the pump station?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This was requested by the board to bring this item back for discussion. As you can see in the staff report, in 2011, we hired a consultant to do a seismic analysis of our pump stations, and the consultant made 5 recommendations, which are in your staff report. We prioritized them 1 through 5. Priority 1 through 2, 1 is to secure the above-ground electrical enclosures, and 2 is to provide backup power, is complete. The district spent nearly $2.2 million completing those 2 priorities. 3, 4, and 5 was a little more challenging. We estimate that priority 3, which provides the flexibility of the pipes in the wet wells, is about $600,000. However, we do, when individual stations occur, we have an opportunity to install a flexibility, like we did that in Eldon not too long ago. We're currently preparing that for the President Pump Station as we redesign that station. But this was, if the board wants us to put this as a higher priority, we can go back to our CIP budget and see where we can add this to the budget. But right now, we're just providing flexibility at the stations when we're upgrading those stations. 4 and 5, priority 4 and 5. 4 is additional support for pump stations for liquefaction zones, and 5 is to secure together concrete grade rings in the pumping station manhole openings. So we're still, those are not complete. We're still, we're going to do an analysis on those priorities, more thorough analysis, and come back with a budget and for your discussion and direction. So happy to answer any questions.
There were, on the operations committee at Orange County Sand District, I didn't make the meeting, but there was an agenda report for where they're headed in the future with a new seismic study. The seismic numbers, the earthquake numbers have started to go up in both San Andreas Fault and Newport Inglewood Fault. So it may be something we want to look at more in the future. But look at that report, because they're beginning to look at the liquefaction process throughout their treatment plant. I would think number 5 would be something that would be cheap and easy to do. So I'd suggest maybe we take a look at it. We got 20 pump stations, securing the manholes. I can't imagine it's much work, and it's on our list.
Yes, Rob, we'll put that on Rob's list and he'll look at that.
Number 4, I had a question where it says, it talked about the caissons and had to be embedded in bedrock. Isn't that going to be virtually impossible at some of the stations that would have a bedrock? I mean, ones,
It would take a very deep caisson to get the bedrock for the pump station.
it would seem to me that when you do something rigid like that, it can be a problem. I mean, I know when I look at stuff that we do in my business, rigid is not good in earthquakes, the flexible part. So taking a caisson all the way down to bedrock, I would think would be really expensive, and I think that's overkill.
Yeah.
It's just to keep the pump station from going to bedrock. But
Okay, I mean, that from a liquefaction standpoint? you
yeah, I
think?
mean, when the liquefies, then it settles. And
Yeah.
So that's what it's trying to prevent. But I think bedrock is very, very deep in and around this area.
I would imagine. There seemed to be a common theme when you went through each of the pump stations, there was a lot of corrosion, which has to be an ongoing. How do you prevent, or how do you stop the corrosion altogether?
Well, we replace those enclosures with stainless steel
Right,
enclosures.
which
So
is-
what we've been doing, I think they're all stainless steel now, aren't they?
Yes, we not only use stainless steel for the enclosures, but we use stainless steel bars, brackets, bolts, nuts, all of that. So we pretty much eliminated it.
Okay.
And also the downspouts you put in the pump stations, it lessens the amount of hydrogen sulfide in the air.
Right.
I wouldn't mind seeing priority 3 looked at a little closer, maybe adding parts of that from our budget to pay for that on a continuing basis. I think that probably would be pretty smart. I see we're doing that when we look at the stations, but maybe look at more of the stations.
Just for explanation, it's a very high labor intensive. It's really a confined space entry into the pump station, and then widen the hole where pipe goes through the wall, and then putting some foam and still sealing it so it's watertight, but allowing the structure to move a little bit without shearing the pipe off. So you have, it's almost like it's $5,000 a hole, because you have 3 guys and a crew rate for a day, etc.
Do we do that ourselves or send it out?
It's by the contractor, but what, we have a detail now, that whenever we go through a wall with a pipe now, we use that same detail. So we have the whole beam indicator to allow those flexibility.
Yeah, I was just thinking even if we started with one or two every year, at that price, it might be worth it.
That's very good. And we are doing work on some of the pump stations, like as Scott said, we are going to be working on President. And then we also have other pump stations during the budget each of the next few years, so it's really good separately as a part of those projects.
Well, the alternative is to provide the flexibility in the piping outside the station.
In addition to flexibility of the pipe. So they want a flexible pipe in the last piece of gravity fluid before the
Yeah.
pump station. So you would not lose getting the wastewater into the
Yeah.
station.
Yeah.
You don't get the wastewater into the station, you can't pump anything.
Right.
So that
Good
last
point.
little piece is where they want the
Yeah.
flexible line.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Okay, thanks for bringing that back. I'm sure this will be a project we need to keep an eye on.
Yes. Definitely.
Okay, well, let's move to the Echo Challenge program update.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Eco Challenge Program, this was prepared and was going to be presented by Nabila Guzman, but she's feeling under the weather today, so I'm going to take over for her on this report. And basically, it's just, we've had an agreement with Eco Challenge, which is a new program from the Science Discovery Center. I think we've done this for the past 3 years, I believe. No, maybe longer than that. It looks about 5 years. Where they will go into the classroom and teach kids the importance about reduce, reuse, and recycling. And this past year, they were gracious enough to amend their program and include the organic recycling and talk about our organic recycling program and how important it is to recycle your food scraps. And then they go over to do a tour at the Discovery Science Center, where they have really, how that is. It's on-hands exhibits where they learn the importance of recycling. You can see in the staff report some statistics. We believe this is a valuable program for our schools, and we believe that the teachers greatly appreciate it as well. And so staff is recommending to continue this program by executing an amendment extension agreement.
Out of curiosity, what grade is it that they go to make presentations?
Sixth graders.
Sixth
Sixth grade
Okay.
students.
I was thinking, maybe we should bring this up to the liaison committee, because it looks like we're going down. Maybe we could let Newport Mesa know what this program's all about.
Yeah, that's a good
That's a
point.
good
That's
idea.
really good.
Yeah, if we have one.
Looking at, when you look at the breakdown by schools, I don't remember, there it is. How come, why isn't Davis listed there?
Davis would be a good one.
They do not participate? I mean, they're the,
It's a charter school, so it's kind
Well-
of a separate entity.
but they were always, with what's her name, Lisa,
Manfredi.
Manfredi. I remember how they were so active and all that stuff?
I-
I was surprised they
Well,
weren't there.
we definitely be, if they, if they want us, we would go there, but, they do a really good job on their own, teaching their
Yeah.
kids on this.
Yeah.
And this, I think is a really good program for the schools that don't have those resources like Davis.
Good point.
And, but if they want us, we'd be more than happy to be there. But I'd rather focus on those schools that don't really put a lot of attention to recycling and organics.
How does that happen? Do we contact the schools, or does the Discovery Center?
The Eco Challenge, they do all that coordination. They do it all for us.
We
So-
may want to mention to them that, talk to a couple different ones.
In the liaison committee, we could at least talk about this program,
Yeah,
because
I
the school
think we
board
really
was there.
did.
Yeah, I think
They may
that's-
not be aware of it.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, we'll do that.
What's really nice is to see the participation by Whittier School.
Yeah.
Probably one of the
Yes.
lowest socioeconomic schools in the district, I think, at least that's what I'm told.
Yeah.
To have that many kids participate. Same with Kaiser. Kaiser, I'd really like to see Victoria School on it, so,
Yeah, that'd be better.
yeah.
Victoria would be good.
Okay. So, do we need to do anything on this morning, Scott?
If you're okay, just direct staff to execute an extension on the agreement with Eco Challenge. You know, I know you don't like taking direction, or just, you know, if I don't see any,
Yeah, the cost is minimal.
yeah, so I'm hearing from the board that you like the program, so we'll implement an extension.
Okay. You need a motion for it?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Is that a
Just-
one-year
we're just
extension or-
directing.
Or
We can
3?
go, yeah, I think Nabila put 1 year, but I believe we can go up to 3 years. But I'll look into that again.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item, unfunded pension liability payment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Wendy Davis for giving this presentation.
Morning.
Morning.
Before you is a staff report outlining our pension unfunded liability. Over the last couple of years, we've directed staff to work on paying off our unfunded liabilities. And it took 3 years to pay off the unfunded OPEB, which is the other pension liability. So we're paid off for those, and staff is now tackling the retirement portion of our unfunded liability. The way our retirement works is we have 3 tiers. So the original employees we took in the city are in tier 1, and that is where they were guaranteed the same benefits as the employees of the city, where the district picked up both sides of the pension. So they picked up the employee share and the employer's share. I believe at a later date, 2010, you adopted the new pension tier 2, which is where the employee picks up their own share and the employer just pays their share. And then tier 3 is the PEPRA tier, which was instituted by the state of California for anyone hired after January 1, 2013. And that sets the retirement rates at a higher rate than the employee picks up their own share, and that's basically it. So that's why we have 3 tiers. I think we have 3 employees, 4 employees in tier 1, and the majority of employees are in tier 2, and then I think we have about 6 in tier 3, or PEPRA. So staff is requesting to get direction on paying off these liabilities. So I have provided in the attachments are the 3 different programs and how much we owe. It's also in the plan summary. So for the miscellaneous tier 1, we owe, as of June 30th, 2003, the actuarial valuation is $320,000 roughly. Tier 2 is $11,000, almost $12,000, and tier 3, the PEPRA tier, is $3,200-ish. So staff would like to get direction from the board to pay them off. Staff is recommending that we pay off all 3 of them now. You can see the actuarial table on the screen for, I think that was probably the miscellaneous tier with the $700,000. If you look, go up a little bit, please. So right there where the 8 column is the first column, the second column is the balance. So you can see our balance starts out at $320,000. And then they're giving you options that if you want to pay it off in 30 years, 20 years, and 15. They assume the payoff is 30 years. And if she scrolls down a little bit, you can see that by the time we pay that debt off, it would be the equivalent of $710,000. So we could pay it off sooner, but right now we have the available funds. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And we don't earn as much money as they earn on the money. So it makes sense with the compounding interest and how much they earn versus what we earn to go ahead and pay it off if that's so directed by the board. My minimum suggestion is pay off the tier 3 and the tier 2 and at least put $120,000 towards tier 1, and if the board so directs, pay another $100,000 over the next 2 years. It would actually end up being a little more than that because of compounding interest. But attached on the bottom of the staff report also was the asset replacement fund. And I have updated the asset replacement fund for all the vehicles and equipment we purchased through June 30th of last year, so it doesn't include anything we purchased this year. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, what you're seeing at the bottom is the asset, the way the asset replacement fund works is, this is a fund to set aside money for the future replacement of expensive equipment, so that you don't have to go and budget a $500,000 backhoe truck all at once. You spread it out over the life of the vehicle. So all the expensive equipment, software, things like that are included in this fund, and we, over the life of the service, say it's 20 years or 10 years or whatever, we divide that by, or we give it an inflation value of 25%, and then we divide that over the life of the equipment, 10 or 20 years, and then we set aside money. And so that's the transfer you see coming from the solid waste and the wastewater fund. So for the 16-17 year, we were transferring in $26,000 from the wastewater fund and $234,000, which is the third line from the bottom there. So for a total of $260,000. The number right above it is what our annual replacement should be, which is $283,000. So we were a little shy, but that was okay because we were overfunded. So if you go across to the last column where you see the $917,385, that's how much money we need in the fund for the future replacement as of June 30th this year. And the number before is what we actually have in the fund, which is, interest and the overfunding of some assets that we got rid of earlier and replaced them with either less expensive assets or didn't replace them. So there's an available balance of about $414,000 in that fund, and that is what I would like to use to pay off the unfunded liability. But I would like the board to approve at the next budget meeting. I would like to bring back a report that asks the board to transfer $300,000 from that amount to the solid waste fund, and then fund the difference, the $37,000 from trash and sewer within those funds, that we have excess contingency and so forth. So I would like to leave this slightly overfunded just because we've bought a lot of stuff this year. But what you see below that is what the transfers are budgeted for in the next 2 fiscal years, that it's going up because of all the equipment. That can be adjusted down based on actual, but because we're always a year behind of the purchase, it's a little hard to tell what the asset value is.
Can I ask a quick question? I don't mean to interrupt your flow, but, so the $300,000 from the wastewater fund and the roughly $37,000 from the solid waste fund, right?
Well, $300,000 is actually coming from this fund.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Does that, because the liability, the pension liability and all that is a combination, do those percentages equate to what we would have if someone were to audit us and say, you took too much money from one factor, does that all mesh?
It will when I bring back the staff report based on what the board's direction is.
Promise?
This fund receives contributions. I can make anything now.
I know you can.
This fund receives contributions from both funds, so transferring it to pay that
Okay.
it would just be transferred someplace else, just to cut the check out of it.
Okay.
But yes, I will, most of our staff ratio is 10% solid waste, 90% sewer.
Which would fit that.
Wastewater. So it will, essentially be equitable when I pay the bill, but the money coming from here is.
And I think my only thought process with that is, we do have customers that only have one service and the others, and technically we're taking our customers' money and paying this stuff, so.
That's true, but most of the trash money actually goes goes to the trash company to pay for their services. And most of the staff and the things that we do here are related to sewer. You know, about 90% of the board reports that you receive and see are sewer related. We do actually, other than paying the trash bills and our negotiating our contract with the trash company, you know, issuing cans, it's very minimal. So, you know, the whole permit department is mostly doing plan checking and issuing sewer permits, and we're doing, you know, construction and rob, and so, you know, substantially our activity, and that's the way we divide it. So staff feels that it's equitable. We've never had the auditors question anything about it. But yes, we try and be very equitable between staff.
Well, the district actually saves money on what we pay PERS by paying the liability off.
Yes, we
Yeah.
will substantially save money because of the compounding interest and the nature of it. And also we save money because our,
Can you speak up there? Is there some noise? No, I'm just kidding.
I am so loud. Yes, we will save a substantial amount of money because the compounding interest for it, and also because then our contributions in the next 2
Yeah.
years will go down because we
Right.
won't have to do the contributions that you saw on there. So it will save us currently, plus in the long run.
Yeah, Orange County Sand District paid their liabilities off, and, you know, they thought it was a significant savings.
Right. I wanna just point out that there's no guarantee that we won't have an unfunded liability in the future, just
Yeah.
because their assumptions change. You know, our retirements, the people in the pool, their retirements change. But also, it's been known to happen that you have an overfunded liability, so, which is beneficial.
Oh, yeah. Or what?
I'd like to take the staff recommendations to pay it all off.
Yeah,
I
think
agree.
I think I agree. One of the questions in the staff report, well, two things. In the staff report, you said that if we pay it off, it becomes a fresh beginning, or I remember the term you used.
Fresh start, that's
Fresh
what
start.
PERS calls it, a fresh start.
Okay, so then from that point, once we pay it off, from that point forward, we become sort of a pay-as-you-go situation rather than having that liability.
Yeah.
We're paying it off all the time,
Right.
which this district is really good at doing, I think.
Right.
So we've kind of gone back to what our overall financial strategy is, to pay as we go rather
Yes.
than borrow for the future,
Yes.
like some other agencies in the county or the area. And, the other question I had real quick. The tier 1 employees that we have, are they all retired now?
No, they are not. Caitlin is not even close to retiring. I told her she has to work here until
So
she's my age.
She was being paid by the city previously.
No, but she was one of the employees that was hired
At
when
that
we only
time.
had the tier 1
Got it.
contract.
Because I kept thinking with tier 1, it would have been,
I was thinking the same thing.
you know, that they're
retired.
all retired, so.
Yeah,
You know, like Wendy said, there's 4 still working that are on tier.
Who are they?
tier.
right.
Who are they?
Me, Caitlin, Joel, and Steve.
Although I have to say, he picks up his own share
Right.
of it. He's negotiated out of
Right.
that, but he's still in a tier, which that tier means that you get to retire at 2% at 55. And some of the other tiers have different retirement dates.
I can't even remember when I was 55. Are you?
No, she
But-
answered, I mean, I
I
gave my
think,
statement.
I think you've won all 5 of this over. I mean,
Okay.
I think it really makes a lot of sense to do this.
Yeah, I commend the board for taking this direction, because I think you'll also be one of the very few public agencies in California that all have 0 unfunded liability.
Sounds like a press
I
release to
mean,
me.
yeah, I mean, I
Orange County Sand
don't,
District has-
Yeah.
Orange County Sand District has 0 unfunded liability.
I said one of the few.
One of the
I said the only one.
Go ahead, Jim.
This isn't gonna prevent us from completing the real estate transaction we just entered into.
No.
And it's coming from a different source, I'm
Yeah,
gathering.
good question.
It is. We're going to talk about that different source in the next agenda report. But yes, this is a separate bucket that I have not been to this trough yet, so this will be fine. for the,
Good question.
So that extra, we should have 917, we're at 1.3.
yes.
Is that just because we've done really well buying, or we've been lucky with some of our stuff?
Well, when the fund was created, I think in 2011-12, they included everything in it, which is a philosophy kind of thing. I have a different philosophy. I only include the capitalizable assets in it. So I reduced it. There's nothing wrong with my philosophy or their philosophy. But they had hundreds of items in there, such as monitors, which are $200 or $300. So setting aside money to replace a monitor is not, that's a lot of bookkeeping for an item that you break and throw out and buy a new one. So items like that, even big screen TVs now are,
Yeah.
$500. You don't set aside money to replace them. They break, you buy a new one. So it's kind of that philosophy where they had literally everything in there.
Mhm.
This microphone was in there, everything. And so it's a nightmare to account for and doing all the transfers. So normally you stick to your capitalization policy, which is a minimum of $5,000. So I included a few other items just because they were in there already, setting aside money, and I know that we're going to replace them, like our Motorola emergency preparedness thing. So I left a few things in there that normally would meet the policy, but that's why it's pretty much a change. I also added items that we didn't have in there, like we bought the Vacom truck, and so that's setting aside money. And we already paid for the replacement of the software, the upgrade of the software for Springbrook last year, and we're budgeting over the next 2 years to replace all of our servers. So instead of using that money, we've incorporated it into the budget.
Does this also include the phones that we might be getting, that we talked about?
The tablets?
The tablets?
No, the tablets are actually budgeted in this year, and they don't meet the criteria of
Okay.
capitalization. They're, I think, with the entire thing, they were just barely $1,000 or so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they don't, if they break, we bought one so far to test out, and we have a policy on it in case it breaks.
Yeah.
But basically with our existing tablets, they break, we throw them away.
It's like the microphones.
So it's cell phone. Okay, anything else from us, or do you have a pretty good idea of what?
Yeah, we'll bring it back to the next board meeting. I do have to cut the check. The board meeting's the 22nd, and the check must be 2 PERS by the 30th of the month. Otherwise, it's as if you didn't pay till the subsequent year.
It's like the Social Security Administration.
Exactly. So I want to make sure that we get it to them by June 30th.
Right.
Are we incurring any prepayment fees in that?
No, they like to have your money. They encourage you.
I would guess. I'm sure they'll shed a tear when they get our check. So, okay, then let's move to the next item.
Wendy Davis, please give the presentation again.
Okay. So, we have a policy for operating reserves, and we adopt a resolution and an ordinance for that, and it's in our operations code. And we amended that to increase our reserve amount a year or two ago, I want to say, to 25% and 30% versus 15% and 20%. So what staff is asking the board to do today is direct them to bring back at a future meeting a policy for the earthquake and the asset management fund. Sorry, the names are so close. Asset management fund, and maybe even rename that fund. To direct staff during the budget process, we had some conversation about the earthquake fund. The earthquake reserve is in the wastewater management fund. It's $1 million, and it's been there since before we actually separated from the city. So staff would just like to have the board identify what they intend to use that for, where they'd like to see it, and, if it's needed. Staff would be recommending either eliminating it or moving it to the asset, management fund, thank you, AMF. That's our recommendation. It used to be, back before when we were using city services, that you could legally restrict reserves, at the board level, and GASB has since eliminated that option, so only if you get some money like a Measure M or a grant that has a restricted government purpose, when you get it, do those meet a reserve requirement. So our earthquake fund, or our earthquake reserve, when it goes into our financial statements, it does not, it just ends up in the unreserved, unrestricted net position. So it, to the outside public looking at our financial statements, it doesn't say earthquake reserve anywhere in our financial statements. So there's no legal requirement for it. The same thing happens with the asset management fund, is it just ends up in the unrestricted, unreserved net position. When we prepare our financial statements, the wastewater fund, the asset management fund, and the asset replacement, no, not the asset replacement,
Capital.
the capacity charges fund, all get combined into one. And of those three, the only restricted assets are the capacity fees that we have. That fund meets the legal criteria of reserve according to the auditors. So everything else we have just goes into unrestricted. So staff is just asking for direction on, or discussion on the earthquake fund, which, just to point out that an earthquake should happen, we would use the asset management fund to repair and replace anything we needed, on an emergency basis. And then all of our money is invested, by our treasurer, so that, there may be a little lag, we may have to sell some of those investments to get cash in case of an earthquake, but,
Well, that was actually a recommendation of the asset management study, was to put the earthquake reserves in the asset management fund to build it up to $5 million. I pretty much agree with what you've got. What I would like to do is just have a one-page explanation for the public in the budget on the reserves that you talked about. I mean, those are reserves. The asset management fund is a reserve, and I think there was some confusion. There's some confusion when you read, this large amount of money, and it doesn't say where it goes. There was confusion with, when the consolidation people looked at it, oh, this is just a gob of money, and they had no clue by reading the CAFR where it was designated to be. So, we have low flow funds, we have capital assets, we have asset management, we have CIP reserves, those kinds of things. If we just had a one-page explanation, there is an explanation for, the 25% and the 30%, but an explanation of what those things are designated for, so that when somebody reads the CAFR, they could put an asterisk and say, go look at policy whatever, or policies whatever, or this one-page document.
well, and that's what staff would like to do, is adopt a ordinance or a resolution to define it by the board. I was able to find this 2011-12, which is when you requested that conduct the goal of saving $5 million in reserves for asset replacement and adopting a reserve fund for asset replacement that is I can't say it, for the next 30 years. So I think we do have something in the budget. You said CAFR, we're not allowed to put it in the CAFR?
No, I mean, you just said in the CAFR, these funds just go in and they become, they become one pile of money.
They do, and we're not allowed to.
And we don't know, but You could put an asterisk and say, this is where these funds came from.
Because we go for the GFOA award,
Oh,
we
can't do
have
that?
strict criteria of what we can include and not include. So
Yeah, okay.
because they don't meet the legal requirements, we're not allowed to include them, but we can include them in the budget document.
Yeah, that's where Orange County Sand District includes the reserve policy.
Yes, we
And
will,
then-
we will do that. We'll include it in our budget document.
Yeah. I agree with Director Uten on this, that we need to signify some way to say what is happening with the earthquake. And I understand what you said, and I was surprised that, but the public doesn't understand this. And it is important for the public to understand that all this has an explanation. And Little Hoover Commission is looking at all our special districts, and seeing where the money is and what's going on, and they wouldn't understand it without some type of explanation, and I think it's worthwhile.
The investment report actually has a detailed explanation, but it, they didn't find it when they couldn't figure it out when they were looking at the consolidation process, or they chose not to look at it.
I think Art had a question.
I'm going back to the pump station seismic study. Could we use some of that earthquake funds to continue to work on the stations? Is that $1 million is for that?
We could appropriate it towards anything you want, or,
I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Or
but
we
I'm
could
just throwing that out
appropriate
for
yeah, we
discussion.
could appropriate it towards the, instead of using reserves, we could it is reserves, but
Yeah.
appropriate it towards the purchase of the building for the yard. Or it could be transferred to the asset management, and you can have a higher balance in there. My suggestion is appropriate it towards the yard or a CIP project. It would be up to the engineer and the general manager to determine if they're able, with all the other projects that we have going and committed to be able to actually complete an additional project, because we only have so much staff time and effort. So that's always one of our restraints, is being able to not budget a project, but get it done.
Well, it really should be based on prioritization. I mean, if we need a project that staff or the engineer can't get to, and it's a high priority project, that's why I think the master plan should be done as quickly as possible. If it's a high priority project, it just has to be done. And then the engineer has to figure out how to get it done.
Right, we would reallocate resources towards that.
Yeah.
And the master plan, I understand, is going to start in the fall. The CCTV will be completed by the end
The fall of
summer.
2017?
Yes. The CCTV will be completed in the next 3 months, and then they'll start the master plan for that. So that would, again, we may end up bringing back all capital projects, but based on reprioritization after the budget's been adopted. But, so what I'm gathering is that earthquake, no one's attached to it since we have the asset replacement fund, asset management fund in case of emergency. We would use that to repair and replace anything that's needed. Okay?
Well, that's actually in the asset management recommendation, the report, so.
Okay. So I will do away with that. One suggestion was to appropriate it towards a specific CIP project.
Is that a CIP project for the pump station seismic?
Yeah.
I mean, we could allocate part of that. I don't know if we want to do all of it. But
I think in that regard, those 5 priorities that the study showed, I think we need to have you come back to us with some numbers as to what all that stuff is going to do and where. I mean, I have ultimate faith in Rob and his crew to take a look at what needs to be kind of like a hotspot thing. So once we have those numbers, we can deal with it, I think.
Okay, so I'm not hearing that we'd like to appropriate it towards the purchase of the building, that you'd like to use other reserves towards that. It's all the same pot. I'm just kind of.
What you're thinking?
I think that it would be. I'd like to see us go forward with the budget document and the projects we have in it right now, because staff has met and discussed those and feels that that's the but is delayed now, barring this. I would like to take that earthquake reserve and use it as money towards the purchase of the building now. And then based on the priorities, when they look at the sewer master plan and this project, that we reprioritize, and that will free up some other, we still have the same amount of money, you know, unreserved that was gonna go for the building. I'm just saying this specifically goes away and goes towards the building.
Well, I agree. We have over 5 million in the goal is to have 5 million in the asset management for R&R, or rehab and replacement. When you put the million in there, now we're at 6+ million, and I think it's appropriate to bring it back down to near 5 million.
Yeah, the plan that you've outlined, I think is reasonable. I don't, anybody else?
Okay.
No, it's good.
Jim, Jim had a comment, I think we missed it.
Oh, it's kind of, does looking into purchasing earthquake insurance with a big deductible make any sense in relation to any of this? I know that Orange County Sand District has got a,
They go through a private carrier, or they go
I
through?
think it's a group. that-
Yeah,
They go through a JPA?
Yeah.
We recently, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but we did ask SDRMA what would the cost, the premiums be to have earthquake insurance, and it was quite steep. I could bring it back for consideration if you want to.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about with a big, you know, a deductible that in case of a real, you know, big event.
Say the
We-
deductible is 5 million.
Yeah,
Well,
something like that.
Jim, but
Well, that's not a bad idea, because that earthquake policy is gonna include this place, the yard, it's gonna include
Yeah.
the whole ball of wax. So with a $5 million, you're not gonna get a $5 million deductible, unfortunately, because they want some premium involved. But I would say probably a $2 million deductible would be a worthwhile number to look at.
Well, I
And
think,
you can
yeah.
rely on FEMA not to be there for us, too.
Yeah.
Well,
FEMA's gonna direct their money to private property and to people, they're not gonna look at
No, they do. They
No, I
do a
think
really
I know
good
they
job
do.
with government, but the timing, the difference
No,
in
that's
when you
key.
claim it and when you get it is
Well,
years.
FEMA's gonna put the onus back on us to say, you should have had reserves. I mean, you knew the potential, whereas
yes.
people don't have fallen to the scene.
Yes and no. I mean, they're going to want local governments to get up and running as fast as possible because they're the ones providing the services. So FEMA's going to assist local government and state governments if they can.
I don't know, ask New Orleans about that.
Well,
I like
the key
it.
is,
Louisiana.
the key is to have the proper documentation for FEMA
Yeah.
to get reimbursed.
Which I think we do. I think our plan is pretty practical. I think FEMA would look pretty favorably on.
Well, I think they
we
will,
do.
but you really have to do the documentation properly in order to get FEMA, and then you will get reimbursed.
Of course, FEMA could also look at us and go, oh, you took care of yourselves, we're gonna go help somebody else who screwed up.
And
And they do that all the
But
time.
it's just emergency funding.
I know.
They don't look at the agency and say, you're well-heeled, you know, you don't get any money.
Well, why don't I go to SDRMA with the request for the $2 million deductible, bring it back to you for your considerations, and, you know, we'll talk to Wendy about it, how we can fit that in the budget, and bring it back to you and get your direction.
Well,
I think you have direction
yeah.
that, I think we're all pretty much agreed.
I think $1 million deductible, you should get multiple
Get the options.
ones.
I would get multiple options.
Because
But I think-
it's $1 million that we have in earthquake reserves now.
Yeah, but we have 5 million in asset management.
I know.
There
But,
might
no,
be-
but several tiers.
There might be a group that we could attach to, too, that would go in, you know, their
Oh, yeah.
private fund.
Like Orange County Sand.
Well, yeah.
Oh, they're well-heeled.
I know, I'm just saying, the group, they're in a group, aren't they?
Or Irvine Ranch Water
Yeah, I
District.
think they have it partnered up.
They're well-heeled.
They could have gone into a JPA that's self-insuring themselves as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah, that's something to look into, though.
I
It's a great
agree.
idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we
So-
should study it.
I would like to get some clarification on the asset management fund to write up the policy. So the policy should say that we shall maintain a $5 million balance.
Goal.
That it,
Goal.
well, it
Recommended or
is-
goal?
So I'm gonna say a balance And if it is needed to go below, that can happen,
Yeah.
but it should be restored as soon as possible, or do you want a time limit
As
on
soon
it?
as
or-
practical.
Okay, that it should be as restored
Yeah.
as soon as possible. Okay, so we will bring back a policy that kind of outlines that, unless someone has something else they'd like to add to that. So, and our operating reserve policy is in our budget document, so we'll, in our budget document, we'll, once that policy is approved, we'll add that, we'll add a definition of all the funds. And, I will bring back, I don't know what I need to bring back to you to remove the earthquake reserve, since we don't actually have I couldn't find it in writing anywhere. So you may or may not see something back. Basically, board's direction is that we don't need the earthquake reserve, and we can remove that from,
Well, it's
and then
gonna
we can
be,
use it for the Hitchcraft property. So I will remove the reserve, and when we are settling up the building, I will appropriate that towards the Hitchcraft.
You're not talking, the document in there that the reserve report back in August of 15, we're still maintaining that 30% and 15%. aren't we?
Yes, that's our operating reserve. We always maintain those, yes.
Okay.
So with that policy, we'll have only two reserve policies, the operating reserve policy and the asset management reserve policy, and you'll get a chance to approve those.
and the
But then-
capital assets?
Yes.
I think that makes it easier for anybody looking at us
Yeah.
to see that it's a more focused look at it if they need to.
Or, and the
Yeah.
CIP, or, no, I guess that's in the asset management process, I think.
The CIP reserve is actually in the wastewater fund, and so any projects that we have appropriated money for,
Yeah,
such as CIP budget, is set aside in the reserves because it's offsetting that we haven't spent that money, but we have obligated it. So it's set aside at the time we do that.
but maybe just a definition of that
Yes.
in the reserve, in the policy.
What I can do in the budget document, we do a fund balance, kind of running fund balance to project where we're gonna be in the next few years so that you can kind of see. So I'll include reserve amounts in that so that it's outlined.
Okay.
So we have direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did you get everything you wanted for Christmas today?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay, then oral communications director comments. I had two real quick things, or actually three now. I keep getting emails from SWANA about my membership in SWANA.
Yeah.
Are we individually members of SWANA, or is the,
Individual is members.
do you take care of that?
I received your.
I had-
registration.
I had no doubt about that. But the other thing is, our email from Ms. Marquez is pretty emphatic about if we want to get a SEP, we need to do it right away. We haven't made a final determination with the Regional Water Control Board, so this is really nothing we need to, not that we wouldn't do anything with this, but
We can ask, but the Water Quality Control Board approving a SEP is at their discretion, and I'm willing to bet they're probably not going to give us one because of how hard we've been pushing back on them, but we can always ask.
we're still appealing. That was my point, Rob, is this is almost like a veiled threat, like you better do it now or else.
She doesn't know that we're appealing.
Got it.
I don't know whether I can tell her it was kind of done in closed session, even though, so I don't know what.
She's not entitled to that information until the public's entitled to it, as far as I'm concerned. We're still
I haven't.
in a process.
I told the WPR group that we were considering appeal.
Okay.
That's all I told.
I think communication with the regional board, we've got a new executive officer out there.
Yeah.
Kurt just retired, and communication with them doesn't hurt. Because if we end up, whatever we end up having to pay, if we can bring some of it back into our processes, rather than just give it to the state and let them spend it willy-nilly.
The person they appointed, Hope Smythe, was part of the prosecution team that we met with over and over. I think she got it.
Is Hope the new executive officer? Okay, I didn't know who they were. Hope is fair.
Hope is eternal. Last comment is have a nice trip this week back to Gettysburg.
Yes.
Congratulations on doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all very proud of you doing
Yes.
that. And I'm sure your staff is too, so
Yeah.
congratulations on doing what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, on CSDA's end, on Thursday, June 22nd, the Little Hoover Committee is going to be holding a public hearing. And at that time, CSDA will be sitting at the table on it, and it's on special districts. So it'll be very interesting. And that's why I worry that everything is just so for us, because I get up there in Sacramento and hear everything that's going on with other districts, and we just stand out. We're just so good on what we're doing, so that's important. Also on, I don't know if anybody's going to the Orange County COG Luncheon Workshop on June 14th. This is at Irvine Water District, and
Is it OCOG?
yeah, it's OCOG.
You'll be there. I didn't-
I can hand this to you.
I'm an alternate. I didn't know they were
I'm on
doing
the
it.
board, so
Well, that's
I
why
didn't-
I'm here, to help you.
that's why I didn't get it.
Anyway, then the other thing is that the CSDA is taking nominations right now for different categories. And even though I know that right now Scott's going away, so worry about this next week. But what I'm interested in is the part that there's nominations for different categories. And in one, it's an innovation program and project of the year. And the deadline is July 21st. And what I was just thinking about, and I keep referring to this because I love it, is the pump stations with the drawings, you know, the artwork and how it goes with the area that it entails. You know, it's something so special. I don't know if you think that's worth it or not, but
Well, you're talking about the awards for CSDAs,
Yes.
and we've been working on that, on the innovation project. The one we've been working on is the horizontal directional drilling projects that we completed on Harbor and Victoria. We thought that was significant, so we're
but
going
you could do more than one.
Sure. It's just time now. You know, I've got, we're putting at least 3 or 4 applications in, so
Yeah.
it's just time. So, and honestly, that project really is not really complete yet, because the art wrap project, because we're still waiting for the QR codes, to go on there, and that's the code that goes on the pump station, so people could take their cell phone and scan it, and then they pull up the history.
Oh.
And so that's not done yet.
Okay.
So we're waiting for that to get done.
Okay, well then I'll bring it up again some other time.
Yeah, it'd be good, maybe good for next year.
Yeah, redundantly, okay. So, and then also, just to remind you that this Thursday, I think it is the chamber breakfast. And so they're going to have the Orange County fair there to explain what's going on and so forth.
Is that this Thursday?
Just so you know, and, you know, we can say how many's going, because last time, for some reason, they didn't think I was going to be there. And they said, you know, no, you're not down. But I always get in there. So anyway, I'm going for sure. And I don't know who else
I'm
is
going to be on the road to Watsonville, the artichoke capital of the world.
I'll say, you gonna go pick some artichokes this weekend, buddy?
Ooh.
I gotta go out for a wedding.
I'll let you know. I didn't have to check my calendar.
So anyone else going? No?
I'll probably go.
Okay.
No.
RDU?
I'll have to check.
Okay.
I have something going Thursday morning.
Okay. Anyway, that's it. I just was curious. Did anybody? know
That's a
this?
lunch and learn, that's not an
Yeah.
OPAC committee meeting.
No, it's a lunch.
It's a lunch and learn, what it is
Yeah.
learning about stuff, yeah.
I know.
I already know everything, so.
Oh,
I'm kidding. Just a comment about last Friday night. I know you made reservations for my wife and I to be there. Yeah, they didn't have my wife on the list, and so somebody got bumped out from our table. And I
Yeah.
didn't quite understand why, if we bought a table, why we didn't have all the seats at that table. But that's neither here nor there. But I think we need to take next year when that comes up, a strong look at, Alan's always told us the money's gotta go to benefit our efforts. I don't think there was I don't think we were given any opportunities to really promote ourselves Friday, so dinner was good, I thought. Dessert was really good, but usually is. Anyway, I think we'll look at that.
If we own the table, we should get all the desserts.
Scott tried to get more than his one, but
Well, the thing is, we didn't have enough people at that table, so they filled it in.
but we should have had the ability to fill it with people
That we wanted.
Not that we wanted, but I mean,
Oh, I hear you.
we could have invited some more staff or
Mm-hmm.
Alan and his wife. I mean, it was like they just filled. And not that the people that weren't there were great. But I mean, we had the Ursinis and 2 school board members, and I didn't know who the other 2 people were that were there.
Concert,
That,
concert in the park. That's where she's from.
oh, okay. Where?
Concert in the park,
Oh.
the gal and her husband.
Okay, anything, Art, go ahead.
Hey, Scott, next Friday, is that Moorlock visitation?
Yes.
Are you back from that, for that?
Yes.
And then are all of us attending, or? I'm not.
I've got a surgery scheduled at 10 o'clock that morning, so.
What day is that?
This is
Next Friday, the 23rd.
the 23rd?
I think
Yeah.
so.
I just found out about the surgery yesterday.
You know what's so strange? Now, Senator Morlock always does Hall of Fame, and, I'm going to that day, and he's coming to us till 11:30.
I'm not sure, that's why, now, do we have to post that as a meeting, since we're all coming, or except for Mike, or not?
Well, not all of us are coming.
No.
That's probably a good idea, if I'll have Nolan get a head count who's going to be here in multiple meetings.
Okay.
That's at 11:30?
Because that's the day of the liaison meeting.
The liaison meeting's kind of up in the air still, isn't it?
Or is it?
As far as I understand, it's confirmed. I haven't heard otherwise.
Oh, it is.
Again, with this surgery, I unfortunately won't be able to make it.
Oh, we're going to Water Summit too, some of
That's this Friday.
the liaison committee, and I have it on the same day. They're
The
not
water
the same
summit
day.
is this Friday.
The liaison meeting has been changed to the 23rd.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
switched that
that's,
to the
I
23rd.
think that's
Well,
why
the
they
liaison
did it, because of the
committee is
water
23rd.
summit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you signed up for
Where's
the
the
water
liaison?
summit, Bob?
What's that? Okay, so-
I think
The
so.
2 of us?
Are we starting for Morlocks here and then going to the,
No.
where are we starting?
Liaisons in the meeting, 7:30 in the morning.
No, I don't mean that. I'm talking about Morlock. Is he meeting us here or at the maintenance yard first?
Meeting us here
Okay, that's what I want to know.
And the liaison committee is
at Mesa.
Mesa?
That would be fun.
I'm
That's
assuming it may
like,
get
that's almost
canceled.
like
but
having
that might be
surgery,
wrong.
Mike.
Hmm?
It's almost like having a second surgery.
It'd probably be worse than the surgery I'm having.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Then I'm going to adjourn us to the next study session. Board meeting next Thursday.
Yes.
Okay.